Hi everyone, how you going? Um, I thought I'd get on and do a video log. I haven't done one in a while. I've been doing a lot of thinking lately, and I guess you can say a lot of soul searching. It kind of hit hard the other day when we got news that we may have to attend yet another funeral. A family of ours in Maybridge, he was picking up his young daughter from school. They were riding home and we're not exactly sure what happened, but it looks like he has purposely knocked his daughter off the road and onto the footpath and taken the car instead of his daughter. He was rushed to a metropolitan hospital and he didn't make it. It's kind of made me realise it kind of makes you think what's important in life. I've ridden with my daughter, I've picked her up from school countless times. You know, it could be something as small as that and things could be over. It's really made me dig deep and think hard. It's been 3 years since I've been diagnosed, and everybody has said the PTSD is not you. It's not who you are, it doesn't define you. I think they're wrong. It is me, and it does define me. I know I'm not the same person that walked into that hospital 3 years ago. I seriously doubt that I will ever be that person that walked into that hospital 3 years ago. But I'm okay with that. I think this event has taught me a great lot. It's really opened my eyes and allowed me to see things that perhaps I wouldn't have seen before. I jumped on the bandwagon and I've been trying to do in my own way everything I can to support mental health and to remove the stigma associated with it and the fear that people feel. But I didn't realise that all along I was contributing to it. It was a discussion I was having the other day, which involved some family, and a thought come into my head that, well, hang on, you don't talk about that. You shouldn't be bringing that up in public. And I thought, well, hang on, there's the problem. I know here where I live in Australia, and with the research I've done all across the world, I know there's many programs that are running to try and combat the stigma that is surrounding mental health and what people think of those who have a mental health diagnosis. I didn't realise that unconsciously I was being a part of that. When I grew up, I mean, don't get me wrong, I had a pretty good childhood. I've had a pretty good life. My parents did split up, but I knew my parents loved me, and my mum was with my mum for quite a while, and I think she did an absolute amazing job. But, you know, when I was brought up, I was told there were certain things you don't talk about. Family business is family business. You don't bring it up outside the house, you know. The age-old stereotype, boys don't cry. You know, be a man, be strong. And it makes me wonder, is this the reason? Or is this part of the reason for this fact that the World Health Organization says we're facing some of the biggest records of mental health diagnoses in the world since they started recording? I think it is. As a child, you know, I was told, you know, you don't talk about that. But I think that's the way my parents were brought up. So they were bringing me up in the fashion that they were brought up, in what they were told, and I didn't realise, but I was doing the same thing to my daughter. I think one of the biggest stigmas that we need to overcome for mental health is our own stigma, our own view of ourselves. I think these programs need to target the home, need to target not only individuals, but the family as a whole. I can understand why people are afraid of going and asking for help. When I got diagnosed, the thing that scared me, that forced me to go and seek the help that I needed, there was an incident where my wife and my daughter were in the lounge room, and ever since I got home from hospital, my anger was out of control, my emotions were out of control. I didn't know what was going on. And my daughter said something, I don't know what it was, I can't remember much of that day, but she said something, I snapped, I threw a trike in the lounge and I damaged it. Now, I didn't throw it at her, I didn't lose my temper at them, I didn't want to hurt her, I didn't throw it in her direction, anything like that. It was just something I did out of frustration, and believe me, to this day, it's something I regret. The fact that I lost my temper in front of my daughter and my wife, and I scared them so badly. And yes, the issue needed to be raised with me, yes, something needed to be said to say, look, mate, this is not right. You can't do this. When I went and I spoke to someone at our hospital and our mental health team and said, look, I need help. This is what's going on. Instead of them sitting me down and saying, look, this is what we think's going on, or look, this is a part of things. Your emotions, your anger are going to be out of balance. You've experienced a trauma. Yes, you shouldn't have done it. Yes, it's something we need to talk about and it's something we need to fix, but we can help you. Personally, I think that's the way it should have gone. It didn't. The worker I spoke to immediately turned around and said, well, we need to ring child services. We need to remove the child from your house if that's the case. Now, if people are faced with reactions like this when they are scared, when they are angry, when they're unsure of what's happening, it's always going to be a negative outcome. It's never going to come out correct, or it's never going to come out right. I was fortunate enough recently to start seeing someone who is doing a lot of good for me. And when I spoke with him, and I was open, I was honest, I told him everything, he come out and he said, yeah, I can understand why it scared you. And I think it's great that you were willing to stand up and say you needed help. That is the first step. Well done. And he broached the subject with me about my daughter, about my wife, and saying that we need to work on your anger, we need to work on your control. You can't get angry around your daughter, you can't lose your temper. We have to make sure your daughter is safe and your wife is safe around you. And he did it in such a way where it was direct. It was a way for me to understand it, a way for me to process it, but it was not a direct, what I would call, hostile challenge. And he turned around and he said to me, look, I think I can help you. Now, I consider myself one of the lucky ones because there is something in my head that will shut me down before I do damage to people that I love. I don't know how it's there, I don't know why it's there, I don't know why it's work. I am just incredibly thankful that it's there. If we are ever going to tackle mental health as a whole, if we're ever going to pull mental health out of the shadows and into polite, civilised conversation, if we're ever going to get people the help they so desperately need to prevent them taking their own life, then we really, really need to change the way we approach this. If people are too frightened to stand up and say, I need help, then what are we left with? Most of our terms and the way we deal with people with mental health a lot of the phrases, the diagnosis criteria and all that was developed at the turn of the century. Now medicine has progressed, the understanding has progressed, but I don't think the treatment has. When you go to people to ask for help and they're extremely hostile, or they terrify you, or they threaten to take your child, how are you meant to react? I don't know what the answer is, and I don't have a solution. But I definitely think it's something we need to work on.